Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you are new. I am the Green Arrow.
And I'm just some 60-year-old guy who never grew up and lives in his mom's basement and plays guitar all day.
Also known as Xander.
Yeah.
And today we are bringing you the Halloween special. So I'm going to try to get this video out today so it's not weird, but this is being Halloween. We figured we'd go ahead and dress up in our costumes. This mask is ungodly uncomfortable. My eyes are hurting not only from the mask, but the bright lights. That's why I normally have my sunglasses on because my eyes are very light
Yeah,
sensitive.
this is nice. I got to say if I could lose this wig and just wear my glasses, I see why you want to do that.
Well, yeah, my eyes are very, very light sensitive, so it's hurt my eyes to do this. The mask is hurting my eyes, but we're doing it all for you guys. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We aren't going to do discussions of the MCU and the DCU. We are going to be talking spooky movies. Okay. Now,
Spooky. Or it could be shows. Could be shows too. Just throwing that out there.
spooky content of media
Yeah.
content, right? Whether it be
Yeah.
shows, things of that nature. Now, I will tell you, Xander is more of a horror flick person than I am. I'm just it's just not my thing. I don't mind them, but I haven't seen as many of them, and it's not the genre that I'm gonna care to watch unless it's a like usually like people are over and you're watching it just because. So
It's on when you're cleaning.
who the fuck would clean to like Freddy? That's because you're weird,
I
Xander.
I would.
And because you're weird, we're gonna have you go ahead and lead off with what is your favorite scary movie? And I didn't mean to
Okay.
make it sound like Scream there.
What's your favorite scary movie?
I was gonna say, do I need? I got the black wig and I should put the blonde wig on,
Hmm.
and then my Drew Barrymore impression.
What's your favorite scary movie?
No, but like you said, I love horror movies and shows and stuff. I don't know if I have a particular favorite one. That's like, what's your favorite movie overall? And it's like, I don't know. And you know me, I have very specific. I don't say specific, like high standards for movies and really media in general. So like, there's not very many that are up there, but the classic. I don't even want to say the whole series, but because it is Halloween, I'm gonna say Michael Myers on Halloween. That character, is synonymous. The music as soon as it hits, you know what it is. And I gotta say, the first one's okay. It's in. I would say it's second, and I'm talking about like the original Halloween movies, not any of the remakes, which they're okay. Don't get me wrong. I don't like them as much. I guess. Uh, the first one's probably second best in my eyes. My favorite one is Halloween 2. And again, both Jamie Lee Curtis is in both of those movies. She does fantastic as Laurie Strode. There's just something about not knowing where he's at, and you get a little glimpse, and then you think he's there, but he's not, and then he's like slow, but he's almost like unstoppable to a degree. You shoot him and he doesn't die. He's got superhuman strength. Um, the mask thing is very cool. Which I don't know how many of our fans that watch this is a a horror nut, but a funny thing about the mask for Halloween for the Michael Myers mask is actually a William Shatner mask that they used way back in the day.
It was
That's
turned
actually
inside out,
some,
wasn't it?
Did you know the Michael Myers mask from the film is actually a Captain Kirk mask turned inside out?
Okay, now it's interesting.
yeah, it's actually, yeah, and it's like, man, that's just so cool. It's one of those things, and I think the second movie has better pacing in my eyes. The first one, if you're a teenager, I could see that one being scary as hell, and whatnot. But that would probably be my thing. The third Halloween movie, which is really weird because it departs from the first two. It doesn't include Michael Myers in there. It's some weird like god summoning thing. It's wild. It's good. It's a good movie, but it's not. It doesn't. Michael Myers isn't in it. Has nothing really to do with the first two films. It's kind of stand on its own type of thing, but it's got this uh, um, weird song. If all you horror flick guys out there know, if you hear this, it's 20 days till Halloween. You hear that song and you know what movie it is as well. So it's really weird to hear the Michael Myers theme. You know what movies those are, and then if you hear that Silver Shamrock song, add the TV commercial, it's from the third movie. So, yeah, that's what I'm gonna lead off with. So, what's your top? Because we were gonna do top three. We can just keep going until we get tired of it, I guess. But what do you lean into on the spooky front?
Well, if we're talking spooky front, I don't know. Like, obviously, I'm more of a Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. I remember watching the first one as a kid. Didn't particularly care for his fashion sense with the red and black, horizontal stripes.
Huge. You must weigh like 1,000 pounds.
Okay, first of all, I'm wearing a baggy sweater, and it has horizontal stripes.
But, until, like, especially the first one. Now, when they had the, what was the Nintendo glove, he ended up coming into one of them. I started similar to, and it's funny now when you look back on it, it's basically like the Sauls and things of the nowadays world where they just kept making more and more of them, and you lost interest the further we went on down the line. But like the original Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, I'd say that was probably still my favorite. I like that he entered the dreams because I've always had problems sleeping.
Say, dude, that's the freakiest shit ever, because it's like, Jason, whatever, don't go near lakes. Oh, it's Michael Myers, don't go near insane asylums, or the Strode house. It's like, well, Freddy can get you when you're sleeping, so it's like, do I go to sleep? But like, scary as shit, man.
Well, because as a kid, you always think about like watching scary movies and you got nightmares, but it was worse with Nightmare on Elm Street because he came at you when you were asleep, so it really made you want to have nightmares. So, like, I would say probably that, and then I love the. He was the original Wolverine as far as in movies, except he had the 5 knives. But he had the claws first. So,
yeah, I think of those, I would have to go with the Dream Warriors movie, only because they kind of fought back at him in their dreams and they got to kind of use powers against him. But also, I'm an 80s music guy, and Dokken wrote the Dream Warriors music video song for that, which is, if you haven't seen that music video, it's wild as hell, by the way. They chase Freddy through the dream, and it's wild as shit. Go check that out. It's a good song too.
I have not, so I'll have to check that out. So I'll be right there with you guys. So then what do you got? What's next? What's your number 2?
Well, I am going to kind of dip over. I know we talked about, should we do like comic books? Should we do horror movies or whatever? So I guess the second one I'm going to pick here, and although I'm pretty sure they're making a remake of this, and this maybe would be a top 10 for me. It's not a high movie, and I've talked about it before on the channel, Constantine. I'm a Keanu Reeves fan, but I like the whole aspect of the religious demons and God and the devil, and he's fighting all these creatures and stuff. So I like Constantine. That movie is fantastic. I can't remember the name of the guy that plays the devil in that movie. He's like that Russian dude. He always plays a Russian guy in every movie he's in. I can't remember his name. Anyway.
Don't worry, I'm looking it up. But I was looking it up for a different reason, and now that you mentioned that, it gave me another reason to look that up and
Gotcha, yeah.
see who you're talking about.
He plays a pretty cool devil. But I could have swore that they said they're going to start making a Constantine 2.
So that's what I initially was looking this up for. I wanted to see where we were at with Constantine 2. Because I know Keanu Reeves had expressed that he would love to make a sequel to that or another one. So I was trying to look up and see.
If that was happening. Yeah.
Who-
So yeah, that one I don't know if you guys haven't seen that movie. It's sort of shoot, what is that, 20 years old now? Because Keanu Reeves is young in that. It must have been right after he did The Matrix.
Peter
I think.
Stormare. Stormare.
That's yes, that
Stormare?
Peter. Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
Peter.
He's been in a lot of movies. You know him if you saw him. You're like, oh yeah, that guy. So I think he was in one of the Jurassic Parks too. Actually, can't remember which one.
So, Constantine 2, according to IMDb, is in production.
Cool. Yeah. So I can't wait to see that. That character. He's been in a couple other shows too. I know he's in the series on WB. Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, Legends of Tomorrow. I think he was also in a couple crossovers or something too.
Well, so
maybe.
and I may be wrong on this. I may be speaking out of turn. So I'm going to do a dramatic pause in case I need to cut this. But he also, so Constantine, that character was from I believe, I want to say ABC series, or it was a different network. And similar to kind of what happened with Supergirl, where they brought him over to the CW, there was a Constantine show that he was in, and then he ended up crossing over into the CW through crossovers, and then he became kind of a regular on Legends of Tomorrow.
Interesting. Yeah, because it must have been bad or something, or maybe it did like 6 episodes. I didn't even know that guy had his own show.
Yes.
But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of my foray there. If I because you mentioned a couple other ones as well that I like I like too. But I just know I'd brought up Constantine previously, and again, the whole occult. He's trying to find his way back into heaven. He's just kind of a anti-hero, if you will. Like, he's not a good guy per se. He's more selfish than anything. So,
well, let's stick on that front for a minute, because I'm not as big. I said before, I'm not as big as a horror movie fan. I'm not as well versed in those as Xander is. But since you already brought up one, I can go into another one that is, scarier. I would say probably the scarier one, and also very, very powerful, that we have seen a couple times. We've seen it in a couple movies. We've also seen in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, I think, was Ghost Rider. Now, obviously, Ghost Rider is doing the devil's bidding. He literally is a skull on fire. So it's very Halloween-ish, right? Very spooky. Now, Nicolas Cage played him in the 2 movies. And then Gabriel, there we go. Gabriel Luna played him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the series. Took a little bit more of a spin on it. I like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Ghost Rider having the fucking Harley with flames on it, but having the big ass muscle car that had flames all over it as well was pretty badass for a TV show budget, being in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it was kind of nice to be able to see Ghost Rider get explored, even if it was just for a little bit in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And in the 2 movies as well. I don't know how you felt about the Ghost Rider movies, but it's Nick Cage, so there's a lot of people that like a lot of the things he's done. There's a lot of people that are kind of on Nick Cage. It's hit and miss for me. Not everything he does is gold. Not everything he does is garbage. I would like to kind of see a more updated, like, for the times and with the special effects. I would like to see an updated Ghost Rider.
I thought I liked the movies. They're a fun time. I'd like them to, like, here's the thing. Ghost Rider has some really cool abilities. And I don't think they really explore, at least in the movies, they didn't really explore all of the cool shit that he can do. And again, he played the Johnny Blaze version, right? In the movies, yeah, and which was awesome. Like, I like the he's a stunt rider and does the Evel Knievel shit, and like you said, signs his soul away. you know, to the he. I guess it starts out as Satan, at least in the comics, right? And then it ends up being Mephisto, I guess, is his arch enemy. You know, his Lex Luthor-ish type person that he's going against. But another funny thing is, like, kind of like Constantine, more so for Ghost Rider, he's an anti-hero, right? Like, he's technically what you would consider a bad guy, but he not really.
He's punishing
like
people.
Yeah, he's like Hellboy, right? Like he's innately evil, but he knows that he shouldn't be doing evil shit, so he does good. You know what I mean? It's like, and he may bend the rules here and there a little bit, you know. So
Now, there's going to be a lot of people who disagree. There's going to be a big fandom that agrees, but you know, Ghost Rider is damn near. There are people who will consider him, but I'd say he's damn near, if not, he's Omega level, right? As far as in the Marvel world, he is immensely powerful, and we've never really gotten that explored, right? Even in Agents of Shield, you see him as a badass, but you don't really get to, and you see some of his power, but you don't really get to see the full extent of what he's capable of. I just thought for Halloween, you know, for if we do want to stick into comic books and things like that, like, you know, you had mentioned Constantine, it is pretty cool. You know, you got a guy it's literally his skull, like his face burns away and he's just a flaming skull. Is pretty badass. So,
oh yeah, pretty awesome stuff there. Yeah. So I guess this I'm gonna do like one more.
yeah.
So gosh, hard to pick. Of all the cool stuff out there, man, I'm gonna have to go over to a series for this one. And I know you're a fan of this. And it does involve like spooky stuff, but because I grew up watching this show when I was a kid, and I used to play, I think they had a video game of this as well.
Are you talking to Addams Family?
No, I'm talking about the X-Files.
Oh.
So it kind of forays into the extraterrestrial side, but there's
Paranormal. There's paranormal.
There's paranormal stuff, episodes, and crazy shit in there too. It's not necessarily something that I guess you would watch in October, but I love that show. I like Gillian Anderson plays an awesome character throughout. Even when she comes back, she plays a great throughout every single season that she's in it. And I'm pretty sure she's in every single season. There was a period there where old T-1000 took over for David Duchovny because I don't want to ruin the series, but he got, they thought he was dead, but he technically wasn't. But he comes back in the newer because they revamped it in, what was like 2016 or 2017 or something like that.
Yeah.
They did
I'm
like
not
11
exactly
season.
sure when, but yeah.
And so David Duchovny comes back with Gillian Anderson. And I didn't think David Duchovny did a really good. He didn't act the same as Mulder did in the old series, in the previous, 10 or 9 seasons he was in.
Yeah, he's coming back for a paycheck.
Californication
had fucking ended, and he's like, I need money.
And he went through some shit, obviously. Like, he had some problems. Hollywood not treat him well, let's just put it that way. So, but I love that series. I know you enjoyed watching several of those episodes, and it kind of has a little bit of everything for everyone. There's there is some ghost paranormal stuff. There's some serial killer type things going on. There's aliens. That show's got it all. So,
all right. So if we're going horror spooky, like sticking with Alien, things like that. Again, I'm not as much of horror like House of a Thousand Corpses. If I'm thinking like horror, like something that somebody would dress up for Halloween, kind of spooky, I would go Aliens is probably my next one. Even though it's more on the paranormal, it was still scary, spooky. It's Aliens.
I mean, I would say that's horror. Like, that shit is scary, man.
Sci-fi horror is what I think it's basically listed as, right? So, for me, and I say Aliens. I mean, the second one, the first one's good in its own right, but Aliens had that mix of action, but the horror, like the xenomorphs in that movie. It's like they're scary as shit when you watch it when you're a kid, and just the way they are and how they move, and the fact that it was all done with like animatronics and everything was real. In the second one, they couldn't CGI the xenomorphs. Um, Made it that much more terrifying, I think. Right. Um, one of the
That film
things.
is the
Go ahead.
that just couldn't. That's my favorite Aliens film.
Yeah.
Like, Alien friend. I don't even the new shit. I haven't seen Romulus.
I haven't seen
So I
Romulus
can't
either
comment
yet.
on that one. I can't comment on that one, but I've seen all the other ones, and it is my favorite. It has, like you said, it's still horror, but there's action in it too. Like, you get breaks from the horror aspect, and the action is so good, and the acting's good, the effects are good, like everything is great. There's so many one-liners from that film.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? We're some real pretty shit now, man.
There's stuff that they took from that film and put into video games, StarCraft. That it's so great. That film is fantastic.
So the funniest thing is 2 of my favorite games of all time were on Commodore 64, and one of them was Friday the 13th. Was an amazing game on there. The music that would play as you kind of, because it was a side scroller, like, well, kind of. I mean, you go up, down, all that, but basically, I mean, it was 2D, obviously ish. But you could go and just the songs that played every time you went to a new little map and everything, and then what you'd have to do to try to find him, like the killer. Like, it was which one of them were the actual killer. And then the Aliens game on Commodore was amazing. It's probably one of the best video games from a movie that I've ever played, and it was on Commodore 64. That's how awesome it was. Still to this day, I don't think I've played an Aliens game that will top that one in my opinion. Now, obviously not graphics wise, but just the overall playability and how it tied in, to the movie and it made it awesome. But for me, for that, like, that's that's one of those, like, that I don't know what they're doing with the Alien Romulus and the Alien Covenant. Plus, there's the Aliens versus Predator. Like, they're kind of taking the lore and everything all over the place, right? That's why I like just going back to the source of what I had. So Aliens, yeah, definitely.
I would say Alien, the first movie, is more of a horror movie than 2, but they still brought over that same feeling of, again, you don't know where these things are at. They're agile. Their blood is acid. Again, that the special effects are just, it's just crazy that they pull it off, that stuff with practical effects, and it just makes it so much scarier. And you can tell even the actors that are in the movie, you almost see it made it easier for them to act scared because of it, because they did such a good job with it.
Which is funny. So we have a video that we recorded damn near a year ago. We were actually kind of touching on this before we jumped on here to record this one. That is practical versus CGI, and we just never had a good time to release it. It wasn't one of those like time sensitive ones. It was just really our thoughts on how we feel about practical effects versus CGI. And typically what we found is those videos don't particularly do well when we release them. Not a lot of people care to. It was a longer video. This was back when we were putting out 40 and 50 content on the regular. But we talked about, like, it's almost more impressive for actors nowadays because they have to react to things that aren't there. So you got to give a horror terrified reaction and there's nothing there versus, it's easier. I got to assume, right? Obviously I'm not a fucking actor. I'm not bashing them for back in the day, but I got to imagine it's a little bit easier when you basically see the head of a xenomorph in front of you as a practical effect. It's easier to be terrified. Like Matt said, like, they were actually terrified of just the practical effect itself to act versus when they're just holding up a stick that that's green that you can see where the placement is where you're supposed to be looking. So a side note on that.
Yeah. It's horror films and action films, it's like all the stuff came from back in the day. So it's like I just kind of as my final thought here to wrap up this video, a couple of honorable mentions that I would suggest if you haven't seen. And I know like The Exorcist, the original Exorcist movie, is scary as fuck. That movie, when I was a kid, my dad for some reason let me watch that movie, and I couldn't sleep for like a month. It was the wildest shit. That movie's wild. But then some of the newer stuff, that I think is scary tend to lead itself into the paranormal instead of the like slasher or the gross. Don't get me wrong, I love Terrifier. And those that you've seen Terrifier, I love Terrifier. It's funny, and it's gory and gross, which is cool. It has its place. I don't think that's horror. But the Insidious, or not Insidious, the Lorraine Warren, the Annabelle, Conjuring universe, because there's a whole Conjuring universe with multiple films that kind of all interact, and I love all of that shit. Great stuff. But yeah,
The Shining. Shining makes it up there in horror spooky.
Oh yeah.
For the sci-fi nerds out there of us, one of the ones that I watched when I was probably like early teens, Event Horizon is a very good sci-fi horror.
Yep.
I remember watching that at 3 a.m. by myself alone in my house.
Ooh.
And like there was no sleep that night. Let's just say that. Now, watching it as an adult and probably watching for kids, nowadays it's probably not as it's a lot more tame. But back then, I was like, okay, this movie is creepy as shit.
The stuff they showed in that movie, like some of the gore effects are wild.
Yeah, and it gets me because it gets me the sci-fi part of it, so I get really invested in it, and then you see that kind of stuff, and you're like, oh shit, like it just it goes to a weird level. So, all right, guys, we don't want this to run on for too long because we will literally do a 3-hour video on all the different horror movies and TV shows. Plus, I am literally dying between the light, this mask, and the heat of wearing, because this is a multi-layered Green Arrow outfit here. I am literally dying. As actually, when I say literally. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it on up here. If you have made it with us this far and on Halloween, we definitely do appreciate it. Consider giving this video a like. I already spoiled it and I called him Mantis just a little bit ago, so it fucked it up. But Xander over there is going to show you where.
Right here. It's right
there.
Right in my hands.
For Mantis Xander.
Yes.
Subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on all of our other videos. Again, a little bit of a detour on this one, but it is Halloween, so we figured we'd, do a little Halloween episode here. But we got plenty more coming up with the DCU, the MCU, and the Elseworlds. Actually, we're getting ready to do another video on that. So if you aren't subscribed and you don't have the fucking bell on all the other bullshit that YouTube makes you do, you aren't going to get notified. And if you don't want to get notified and you think we're putting out way too much, just let us know down in the comments. Okay. I know we've gotten several comments here lately that I'm working on. I promise I'm going to get to responding to you guys because we do appreciate you guys. Not only watching the videos, but actually taking the time to comment. So I apologize. It's just been fucking crazy here lately. I will get around to you guys. Don't think I've forgotten about you. Or Xander will if he can find the time. He's got recording deals. So he's got so much shit going on.
Really, I just, I got to go keep playing my World of Warcraft. That's what it is.
Hey, that's a thing, though. That's so. All right, Xander, you got anything else?
No. Happy Halloween, everyone. Stay safe. Don't eat razor blades. And for you adults out there that do have kids, make sure you watch your kids. People are stupid.
Check their candy. Check their candy.
Yes. And be nice to the other adults that are taking their kids, trick-or-treating. Have some Jell-O shots for the adults, for them, out there.
I will say, PSA real quick. Just remember, kids are kids, all right? They're going to be a little wild. They're getting rambunctious. They're with their friends. They're hopped up on sugar. Like, give them a little bit of a break, right? Don't be that neighbor that calls in because things are getting too loud. Like, they're kids. Hopefully, depending on where you're at, it's not like pouring down rain or freezing cold, but just let them be kids. This is their night, right? I know we get to dress up right now and do this, but it's for the kids. Let them be kids. So. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. here on this Halloween episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, we will see you then.
Later.